èrè rẹ báyìí. Ẹgbà mi ó ti dákú ẹ bá ní gbé.
Ẹ̀yin ọ̀dọ́ ẹ má ṣe gba olóṣèlú láàyè láti lò yín fún jàǹdùkú. Jáde lọ dìbò rẹ ní wọ́ọ́rọ́wọ́. Dìbò má ṣe jà, ogun kọ́ nìbò.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ àjọ The New Generation Girls and Women Development Initiative NIGAWD pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ láti USAID, FCDO àti NDI.
We welcome you to yet another interesting edition of this special program, Vote, Don't Fight. You know, as election process is coming up gradually here in the state of Osun, and we are getting ready, and we need to sensitize ourselves of what is abreast of us. And so, the New Generation Girls and Women Development Initiative, NIGAWD, has sponsored a program for weeks to intimate us on what we need to know concerning election, electoral processes, violence, and the likes, and to let us know how to go about it. And the main gist is vote, not fight. It's a campaign that has been on for quite some time now, and this afternoon, as usual, we have a guest in the house who's going to shed more light on what we want to talk about today. We want to look at knowing when you go wrong in election period. That is what we want to look at today. How do we go wrong during election period? What are the things that we are likely to do that will make us go wrong during election? We have the police PRO in the house, SP Yemisi Opalola, from Osun State Police Command. Is going to shed more light on what we are looking at this afternoon. Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I am great. I'm doing great.
Thank you for coming. Yes, knowing when you go wrong in election period, that is what we want to look at today. And when we talk about election, we want to look at electoral violence and other offenses and their consequences during this time.
Okay.
Can you please take us through some electoral offenses committed by citizens?
There are a lot of them, but I would like just to mention a few of it that people may easily get into. Offenses against human body. Human body, like murder, culpable homicide, grievous harms, hurt, assault, even assault. Assaulting person, maybe you slap somebody, or you assault him or her even by the words of mouth, is intimidation. By intimidating that person or posing a kind of threat on such people is election offense. Offense against property, when you intend or attempt to destroy property of individual, like it is going on now, that even before election, when there may be some billboard, campaign billboard, and you go there, you destroy them, it's an offense. It's an offense. Yes, it's an offense. Also, we have unlawful possession of firearm, maybe before, during, and after the election. You are caught, with firearm. You harm yourself with any weapon that is capable of destroying life, destroying properties. You are liable to. Then offenses against public order, social order, like riot and unlawful assembly. Like even during the election, when some people are gathering together, you are not supposed to be gathering together during election. When you vote, you leave that place. Okay. Or even if you want to wait maybe to hear the count of the vote, you stay aside. It's not to be loitering about and discussing or saying other things that may even disrupt the smooth running of the election process. Public disturbance, like fighting, even affray, fighting, or forceful entry. You want to force yourself to enter into maybe where they are collecting centers and something like that. And also, if you are malicious, now cyber information, misleading messages, and hate speech, like before election or during election, you are posting some things out that may make other parties to be aggrieved, to be annoyed, and they will now want to cause a problem. Is an electoral offense. Then act of thuggery, That thuggery that you are seeing that some people are involving themselves in, they are, they are electoral offenses. Then snatching of ballot boxes, loitering around the polling units and collation centers, carrying of weapons, like I told you, dangerous weapons, then canvassing or soliciting for election during the election. When you are the polling unit, you are canvassing, you are telling other person, vote for us, vote for this party, don't vote for this party. It's an offense because campaign will have stopped some days before the election time.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Before we go to the penalties or consequences of that, let's look at electoral violence itself. We've talked about the offenses now. Let's now look at electoral violence itself. What is it?
Electoral violence is an act or threat or coercion or intimidation, physical harm perpetrated to effect an electoral process, that is to disrupt it from going smoothly. Anything that you do that is capable of destroying the process, maybe to disrupt it, to put it to a standstill, or to make it not to be credible. Everything about that is electoral violence.
Thank you very much, madam. After this timeout, we shall be back to continue with the program. Don't go away.
Youths, it is time again to shape our lives. Our decision will affect the quality of education, employment opportunities, security, healthcare, and agriculture in our state. Our votes will improve our lives and the lives of our children. Let us come out en masse to vote for the candidates of our choice. Say no to electoral violence, vote buying and selling. No to drug abuse and hate speech. The future is in our thumb. Remember, vote not fight. Election no be war. This message is brought to you by the New Generation Girls and Women Development Initiative NIGAWD, with support from United States Agency for International Development, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office FCDO, and National Democratic Institute NDI.
Thank you very much for that message. We've heard it all, and our second guest is in the house, Barrister Vilbert Kintai, Head of Litigation Unit, Lagos Service Department, INEC, Osun State. Thank you very much. Legal Service Department, INEC, Osun State. Thank you very much for coming to the show, for joining us. Yes, we just talked about electoral violence, what it means. Can you please add a little more to it?
Okay, electoral violence, before a conduct can be said to amount to an electoral violence, that conduct must be specifically proscribed by the Electoral Act 2022 now,
Okay.
as we have it. So every violation of the electoral rule as specifically codified in the Electoral Act, and the penalty for it also stated, is an electoral violence. In other words, if you can't find it in the book, in the law, it's not an electoral violence. So every conduct, it's a violence, meaning that it's a crime. And when a crime is committed, the penalty is either a fine or a term of imprisonment.
Thank you very much. We have looked at electoral offences committed by youths and people around us. Let's quickly look at the penalties and consequences of electoral offences.
Okay, there are, for election day offences, for example, there are two categories of penalties. If the conduct has to do with destruction of election materials,
Okay.
or snatching of election materials, upon conviction, there is no option of fine.
Okay.
The convict will be sentenced to a term of 24 months. But every other electoral offense, other than the one that has to do with destruction of election materials, like it was being mentioned before I came in, canvassing for votes, wearing of prohibited materials within 300 meters of the polling unit, etc. Those kind of offenses would attract a fine of 100,000 or 6 months imprisonment or both. So those are the categories. There's one that there's no fine, you go to prison straight. There's one that you are fined and imprisonment and imprisoned, or you are fined and imprisoned together.
Well, thank you very much. That's Barrister Vilba Kintai, Head of Litigation Unit, Legal Service Department, INEC Osun State. Thank you, sir. And to you, madam, the Police PRO Osun State Command, SPMC Okmalola. What are the consequences?
The consequences are bad image is there, riot and coerce. Everywhere will be riotous, and there will not be orderliness. Because when they see that a party is doing something that is wrong, the other party will not want to stay. They will not want to look at it. They want to do the same thing, and everything will be going, unsettled. Loss of interest in voting. Even the people that are online that they want to vote, they may just turn and go back home. That this place is not safe for them. Also, bad leadership will be the outcome, because we will not be able to choose the right leaders. It can cause that. Then loss of life and properties. Then political instabilities will come after. It leads to waste of national or state resources. Like if the materials, like he has said, is destroyed. It's a waste. Which means we are not going to we are not going to achieve what we want to achieve. We need to go and be printing other ones, and that one has wasted. And it can encourage a military junta. It may make the military to come back. Then imprisonment of offenders, a lot of things, and even it may even cause psychological problems, and economic problems, and political problems. Everything will not be normal.
Thank you very much, Ma. Let me go to Barrister Vilba Kintai. Let's look at the common electoral violence committed by youths during election process.
There are two, majorly because they are because of their energy. They are the constituency that are always exploited to commit violence. The violence side of election, disrupting an election so that it does not continue, or disrupting collation of results when it appears that somebody would win, because you know that we announce the results are pasted as if you like at the polling units after the count, and so people can have an idea of how or where its results are headed. So that is the constituency that is being used to disrupt either the accreditation or the voting on election day, or to disrupt collation, or to protest in a manner that the process cannot be concluded. So they are an army that is usually exploited, but the law punishes both the perpetrator and the sponsor of the violence. And so conspiracy to commit violence is also an offense. Procuring somebody to commit violence is also an offense. So both the youths that are on the scene and those that are directing their affairs behind the scene, all of them are liable to arrest and prosecution.
Thank you very much. Bó tilẹ̀ jẹ́ pé Barrister Vilba Kintai wọn gbọ́ ntàn wí, ṣùgbọ́n a dúpẹ́ pé màmá wa Yẹmisí Ọ̀pálọ́lá, alukoro iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun, wọn lè sọ Yorùbá dáradára. Ntàn sọ náà ni pé dìbò má ṣe jà. Èyí tí àjọ kan tí kò rọ̀gbọ̀kú lé ìjọba tí wọ́n ṣe agbátẹrù rẹ̀, àwọn the New Generation Girls and Women Development Initiative tí à ń pè wọ́n ní NIGAWD, àwọn ni wọ́n ṣe agbátẹrù tí wọ́n ń fọ́n rere dìbò má ṣe jà. Tá bá wá ní ká dìbò ká má ṣe jà, nínú tá fẹ́ gbéyàwó lónìí náà ni pé láti mọ àkókò tá bá ṣàṣemáṣe nínú ètò ìdìbò.
Téèyàn fi lè ṣàṣemáṣe pọ̀, gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ṣe sọ ní èdè fínrínfíntín tẹ́lẹ̀. Gbogbo ohun téèyàn bá ti ṣe tí ò bá òfin mu, tí èèyàn fi lè pé kó fi dàbàrú bò tàbí kó fi dí ètò ìdìbò tó ti ń lọ ní ìrọ̀wọ́ ìrọ̀sẹ̀ tó ti di lọ́wọ́ òun náà ní jẹ́ ó ti dàbàrú ẹ̀ nìyẹn kò jẹ́ kó ṣe ó sì ní ètò ìjìyà.
kí làwọn ìjìyà tí ń bẹ ń bẹ.
àwọn ìjìyà tó wà ń bẹ ni pé gẹ́gẹ́ bí agbẹjọ́rò wa tá a ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan ẹni tó bá jẹ́ pé ó pín sí ìpele méjì gẹ́gẹ́ bí wọ́n ṣe sọ ìpele kìíní ni ẹni tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n á jẹ ìyà kí wọ́n lọ sí ẹ̀wọ̀n ọdún méjì gbáko èyí ni wọ́n ń pè ní oṣù mẹ́rìnlélógún àwọn apá kan wà tó jẹ́ pé ẹ̀wọ̀n oṣù mẹ́fà péré ni wọ́n ṣe tàbí kí wọ́n san ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà ọgọ́rùn-ún nìkan san tàbí kí ó jẹ́ pé méjèèjì ni wọ́n jẹ ní ìyà papọ̀ irú tá a bá rí àwọn tó jẹ́ pé bóyá ń gbà bá ìbò náà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní náà ń polongo òbò níbi tá ti ń dìbò lọ́wọ́ tàbí tí wọ́n kàn ṣe àwọn bóyá wọ́n gbé àwọn àwòrán tí ó fi kíní wọn hàn bẹ́ẹ̀ irú àwọn ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn òun là ń pè ní bí oní oṣù mẹ́fà tàbí oṣù mẹ́fà àti owó ìtanràn yẹn ṣùgbọ́n èyí tó bá jẹ́ pé bóyá wọ́n jí àpótí ìbò wọ́n ṣàbà àpótí ìbò jẹ́ wọ́n ṣe oríṣiríṣi àwọn nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn òun ni ó jẹ́ ọlọ́dún méjì yẹn kò sì ní pé wákàtí kankan nú pé bóyá dọ́gbọ́n sí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n ṣiṣẹ́ yóò lọ sùn sí.
sábà wá dabarú nǹkan tá a ṣe nǹkan bí ò ti yẹ kó rí lásìkò òbò kí ni máa bí.
ó ń bí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wàhálà ìjàngbọ̀n wàhálà torí pé ńgbà tí ẹnìkan tí apá kan bóyá àwọn ẹgbẹ́ òṣèlú kan wọ́n dabarú ìkejì náà ò ní fẹ́ gbà àwọn náà fẹ́ kàn ó dabarú gbogbo ó wà lọ́pọ̀ mọ́ra wọn ráìsì ó wà dà mọ́ ìrẹsì ó dà mọ́ ẹ̀wà ni gbogbo ó wà lọ́jú pọ̀ tàbí pé ó máa mú káwọn tán fẹ́ wá dìbò gan kọ́kàn wọn mọ́ balẹ̀ torí mo bá ti rí pé gbọ́n mi sí omi ò tó ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ òun kálukú ó fẹ́ yí padà láti sáfẹ́mi ẹ̀ lọ sílé ìbò tá a wá fẹ́ dì gan kò wá ní yọjúmọ́ bí mo bá dẹ̀ tún wá pẹ́ ká pọ́n tiẹ̀ wá dì í ní bákan a wà rí i pé ẹni tí a fẹ́ gan kó wọlé kọ́ ló wọlé pàrùpàrù ó lè jẹ́ pé ní ọ̀wá pàpà wọlé tí pàrùpàrù bá dẹ̀ wọlé ẹ mọ ìyà tí ó fi jẹ aráàlú then gbogbo tán dàrú tán dàpọ̀ tán fàyà yẹn ṣé mọ̀ pé owó kan la fi ṣe owó òòlù la fi ṣe a wà tún
ìyẹn ti bọ́ sí gbàtú nìyẹn
ó ti bọ́ sínú gbàtú o àìṣe tún wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣe rí i pé ìyẹn náà tún jẹ́ bí
ìnáwó lọ́nà ìlọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀
á tún jẹ́ ìnáwó ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì yóò sì tún jẹ́ bí gbèsè fún wa ní ìlú bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ó tún lè mú kí àwọn ológun gangan sọ pé àsán ilé wọn àti ẹ̀ lè ṣe ìjọba tara wa ẹjá wo tún padà wá láti wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sọ ìjọba ológun.
ẹ ṣeun ìyá wa ìtanijí nípa ààbò àti àlàáfíà nítorí ìdìbò tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà yìí òun náà nìkan tá à ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ kí wàá ní àwọn ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí àwọn ọ̀dọ́ tí wọ́n sábà máa ń ṣẹ̀ lásìkò ìdìbò yìí.
ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wọn pọ̀ nítorí pé àwọn náà ni wọ́n ní agbára ṣe mọ̀ pé ọ̀dọ́ lókun ó lágbára láti ṣe gbogbo nǹkan òun ló fi jẹ́ pọ̀ náà máa ń lò làwọn àgbà máa ń lò láti pé kán lọ fi ṣe dábẹ̀rú nítorí agbára tán sì ní àtòkùn wọn torí èyàn ò lè bàbá arúgbó tó jẹ́ bíi 70 ọdún tàbí 100 ọdún èyàn ò lè ní wá lọ bá mi ṣe nǹkan wọ́n bá ti fọwọ́ ṣe yẹ́tí báyìí ni ó ti bọ́lẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn náà ni torí pé ọpọlọ wọ́n sì pé nínú ọpọlọ wọ́n sì pé ní ara wọ́n sì pé nínú gbogbo ìwàsí wọn tó òun náà fi máa ń rí wọn lò láti pé kán fi ṣe irú nǹkan bẹ́yìn láti pé kán ṣe wọ́n máa ń lo àwọn olóyìnbó máa ń pè pé vulnerability wọn pé wọ́n rí pé àwọn ṣe é mú kí náà sì ni nítorí pé ìṣẹ́ àti ìyà àtòsí ó wà nílùú wọ́n ti wọ̀nyí pé tán bá ti gbé owó kékeré fẹ́lẹ̀ kíákíá ni ó lọ ṣe tán bá ní kan bá ní tiẹ̀ lọ pa wá gan kò ní ronú lẹ́ẹ̀mejì torí pé tí tẹ́bí bá ń pa ohun tí ó jẹ yẹn ní ọ̀kọ́ wà ní ọkàn àyà rẹ̀.
ẹ ṣeun adúpẹ́ kí n tó bọ́ sí ọ̀dọ̀ barrister vilba kí n sáré bẹ̀rẹ̀ ilé kí lẹ ní sọ pẹ̀lú dìbò kó sebẹ̀.
dìbò kó sebẹ̀ náà ni kéèyàn máa ta ìbò kó máa ra bò kí ló dẹ̀ ohun tó dẹ̀ yẹ kí àti ẹ̀ ká gbójú àgàn sí rárá ni torí pé àti ẹ̀ mọ̀ bí gbogbo ẹ̀ ṣe wá dà báyìí gan kò ní jẹ́ kéèyàn ó lè dìbò fún ẹni tí ó jẹ́ pé yóò lè ṣèlú láǹfààní gan torí ó lè jẹ́ pé ẹni tí ó ṣèlú láǹfààní gan ni olówó lọ ṣe àwọn pínpà tí yà jẹ́ ìjẹ àwọn èèyàn ẹni tán rí tó kó wá wọn ò tiẹ̀ fẹ́ rò pé wọ́yá lọ́jọ́ ọ̀la mi ńkọ́ tàbí oṣù tó ń bọ̀ ńkọ́ nǹkan ó jẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀kan yẹn náà yóò ti wà ní ọkàn àyà wọn ni ó yẹ kí gbogbo wa ká gbé ojú àgàn sí irú àwọn ìwà bẹ́yẹn.
Thank you very much. Barrister Vilbakintai. There is this slogan in Yoruba, Diboko Sebe, that is vote and cook soup, and your pot will be filled with assorted meat and things like that. What would you have to say about that?
Well, that's wrong. We don't vote for a pot of soup. It's under the Electoral Act, for example, Section 121 proscribes all forms of bribery for the purpose of voting. It is described as bribery, it is described as inducement. It's a criminal conduct. Under the Electoral Act, it is punishable with a fine of up to 500,000 or 12 months of imprisonment. And people should know it's a crime, and that violators are liable to arrest and prosecution. And it should interest you also to know that apart from the security presence at the polling unit, we also have security presence on patrol. So we have both armed and unarmed security personnel. They are well trained. They understand that that behavior, it's a crime, and they are upping their preparations also to meet the challenge that it has constituted in the electoral process or in the voting process. And so, for example, in these elections, there will be more than before efforts in curbing that menace. It's a violation of the oath of secrecy. Nobody should know whom you have voted for. You are violating your conscience to disclose the person you have voted for. It's what has been given you by law. It's a right given by law to change your destiny. It's what the law has provided for you as a tool, you know, to have the kind of society that you desire. And so it's a shame if you sell that for soup. I don't know how long a pot of soup lasts, but enough for a soup to remain fresh. It may not go beyond 24 hours. So would you mortgage an entire 4 years of your life for something of 24 hours?
Thank you very much, Barrister Vilbakintai. Now, what's your organization doing to dissuade vote buying and mitigate electoral violence?
The INEC has been in the forefront of this campaign to discourage the buying of votes. You remember before now, we had made attempts to dissuade people from bringing phones and to snap because that initiative was introduced by the commission in our guidelines during the last governorship election, and all of those were efforts because when it came up, we always act proactively to ensure that the circumstance under which that conduct thrives is removed from the electoral process. And I look at the cubicle, for example. We have ensured that nobody would see who you are voting for. And we have done jingles, we are on air like we are now, on radio, we're on TV. We dramatize all over. There's no local government that the commission has not been to speak to people in the language that they understand. We have put it in form of drama, we have put it in form of posters, and we have gone to every nook and cranny of Osun State to let people know it's not a conduct they should accept.
God will help us. Ìyàwó Ọpálọ́lá, kí la ṣe láti rí pé a dẹ́kun ìbò rírà?
Iṣẹ́ gbogbo wa ni àtẹ̀ntí àwọn tó ń lọ dìbò gangan. Tẹ́ bá ti rí tí ẹnìkan ń ṣe nǹkan kan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn, ẹ tètè ta àwọn agbófinró, ẹ ta wọ́n lólobó, ẹ sọ fún àwọn elétò òdìbò, àjọ elétò òdìbò ni wàá sọ fún àwa, torí pé àwọn ni bí ìgbà tá à ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún, wọ́n sọ fáwa, àwo sì ṣe ń tó tọ́ àti ń tó yẹ, kì í ṣe ń tó dáa rárá, nítorí pé ọjọ́ ọ̀la wa táwa bá tiẹ̀ láti dàgbà tí ń lọ báyìí tá à ní pẹ́ mọ́, ṣùgbọ́n ọmọ ọ̀la à ń ba ayé wọn jẹ́ sí ni, kò tiẹ̀ ń ṣe, torí gẹ́gẹ́ bí wọ́n ṣe sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà, ìjọ́ mélòó ni ìsásùn ọbẹ̀ kan ni ó gbà tí ó yìí tán, ṣé ọdún mẹ́rin tó wàá fi jẹ bí wọn ṣe ń lo wá dáa tó tiẹ̀ mọ̀ bóyá ọdún mẹ́jọ gan ni ó tún já sí,
ẹ ṣeun
kì í ṣe tó dáa rárá.
Kí wàá ní ìmọ̀ràn yín fún àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ bí aṣojú ẹgbẹ́ ní ibùdó ìdìbò kọ̀ọ̀kan lọ́jọ́ ìdìbò?
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ gbogbo yín ni kẹ́ ojúlala kan fi sọrí, gbogbo ẹni tó jẹ́ aṣojú ẹgbẹ́ ẹ dúró síbẹ̀ kẹ́ ẹ máa wò kẹ́nìkan ni wọ́n mọ̀ bá yẹn mọ́ ẹbọ, àti pé ẹ má jẹ́ kí ẹnikẹ́ni á sọ fáwọn elétò ìdìbò náà àti ń bá wọn ṣèpàdé náà kán má gbà kí ẹnikẹ́ni kó dìbò tán kó wá máa fi kíní ìbò rẹ̀ mọ́ fẹ́ yìí báyìí torí ibi tó bá ti ń fi fẹ́ yìí ó fẹ́ fi hàn wọ́n wípé òun ti kò kán dẹ̀ má gbà wípé ẹnìkankan à ń sọ fáwọn ọlọ́pàá náà kán má gbà pé ẹnìkankan kó lè wọ inú ilé yàrá gbogbo tí wọ́n ṣe yẹn kó má wọ̀ pẹ̀lú wọn kán rí i pé tán bá ti rí pọ́n rí àwọn nǹkan kan tó yàtọ̀ sí gbogbo ohun tá à ń sọ yìí kí wọ́n sì máa sọ fún wa kó kálukú ó dìbò níwọ̀rọ̀wọ̀ rẹ̀ sẹ̀ kán sì máa lọ sílé wọn.
ẹ ṣeun adúpẹ́ barrister, what's your advice for party representatives that are stationed at each polling unit to buy voters' conscience?
And they should not agree to do it. You shouldn't be a party to a crime. Okay. You should not agree to be actors in scuttling the aspiration of Nigerians for a free and a fair governorship election in Osun State.
Thank you very
much. They should
much.
discourage their principals from doing that, from employing them. Tell their principal they are not available and they will not do it.
Thank you very much. We wouldn't mind, receiving a call or two from our listeners out there. 08187775777 the number tí ẹ láǹfààní láti pè sí. You can make your call straight to 08187775777. My guests are here to answer whatever question that you have for them and to shed more light on what is it that you have at the back of your mind. Before we go, okay, we have a call. Hello? Hello? Hello, you are on. Ẹ káàsán o.
Ẹ káàsán.
Okay.
Ọmọ ìlú tá a lọ gba voters card wa. Ṣé kò tí wọ́n fi kí àwọn eléètò bóyá ti débi ọlọ́pàá kan káwọn náà gbé bòbí ìgbà ọmọ ìlú àwọn náà.
Tó orúkọ yín. Wọ́n dárúkọ wọn. Wọ́n ní ṣé kò lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ kẹ́yìn náà dìbò nínú ọjọ́ yẹn.
Kì í ṣe kò sí ní tó ní káwa náà má dìbò ṣùgbọ́n iṣẹ́ tá à ń ṣe kò lè jẹ́ torí pé ó lè jẹ́ wípé èmi nísìnyí mo ti gba káàdì ìdìbò mi ní ìlú Àbújá wọ́n wá ti gbé mi wá síbí nísìnyí láti wá ṣe ìdìbò orúkọ mi ò sí níbí kò sí bí ń ṣe sáré pé mo fẹ́ lọ torí iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n gbà mí sí ń ṣàṣáré síbẹ̀ lọ pé kí n lọ dìbò wá.
Okay, that man is asking if the security agents on that day, why they are always left out in voting. He wants to know why they don't normally vote on voting days, election days.
They have the right to vote. Every Nigerian has the right to vote. Every Nigerian has the right to vote. Even a security man on duty can vote. So nobody is deprived the right to vote.
Okay. Hello?
But
Hello? Last caller? Hey, we lost that call. Hello?
Hello, ma.
Ẹ káàsán orúkọ yín ibi tá ẹ ti ń pè wá.
Good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Adeshakin.
Mrs. Adeshakin
From Ife.
from Ife. Thank you. Your question, ma.
Yes, I have a question for the INEC legal officer.
Is it?
I discovered that during the state election, the coppers, not the other officers, they were the ones that gave people the agents free hands to be giving out money to people. There were videos online that the coppers were just looking, that the policemen were just looking, they couldn't do anything. So I don't know if the positions they have on ground, not what repeated itself in what happened in CCC. Will not repeat itself in shown here.
What do you have to say to that, sir? And that will be the last caller.
Okay. The new, interestingly, the new Electoral Act has made a provision that penalizes for dereliction of duty. It also punishes an election official that is a party to vote by or an electoral offense. That's why we, for example, training is ongoing. Training, in fact, it's begun. It's going to continue until the day of the election. The training is to ensure that they are properly oriented.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a pity we cannot take any other call and we cannot even continue. Time will not permit us. I want to thank you, SPM Mr. Okwalola.
Thank you for having me.
Police PRO, Osun State Police Command. Thank you. And Barrister Vilba Kintai, Head of Litigation Unit, Legal Services Department, INEC Osun State. Thank you. On behalf of everybody here, my name is Titi Lokwe Ajibo. I want to thank you all for being part of the show. Join us again on Monday, same time. For fresh
104.5